Hey there, fellow creature enthusiasts! My name is Alex, and today I'm going to be finishing off my Plutonium Tiger class project, and talking about my experience at a recent art class/mentorship I've been enrolled in over the past few months. The class was hosted by the artist David from David's Creature Codex on Instagram. It was a 4-week online workshop. If the name sounds familiar, it's probably because I've made a couple of their videos on the channel involving his Mythical Monsters in March design challenges. Getting started here, I had been fleshing out my designs over the past few weeks for the final project, with these 5 thumbnails. Now the class is structured where in each lesson we build upon our initial design, leveling up each piece based on the class topic, and progressing through Week 1, Initial Drake Concept and Real Animal Study, Week 2, Animal Anatomy and Dragon Anatomy Tips, Week 3, Design Principles, and homework involving designing a cute little mini version of our Drake creature dragon to a, megaton kaiju. Oh, wait, where was I again? Oh, yeah! How I leveled up working on this Plutonium Tiger project for the final week. Week 4, designing your favorite design into a bestiary page. Here, I'm working on figuring out the legs. I built them up first using simple shapes, letting my imagination view them as boxes and cylinders in 3D space. Something I found interesting during the class was a few of my classmates were struggling with how to find good reference for tackling their dragon's challenging posing and positionings. So I thought I'd share some of my process, and what I personally look for in my own reference searching. First, I begin by aiming to find the closest reference I can to the pose I'm looking for. I know it's not going to be exact, but just close enough, along with keeping an eye out for references that might not be completely what I'm looking for, but still capture the likeness or a positioning feel I'm going for. Remember, if the subject you're drawing is an action, look for reference acting out a similar action, like running, jumping, flying, etc. Observe in each reference how far they can stretch or coil up. Note their limits. How far are they able to comfortably stretch and bend? You may find they're way more athletic than you previously thought. Getting to know this will help you sort of understand and catch more of your positioning mistakes and reveal unnatural limb placement. It's my personal go-to for understanding their pose, and I like watching videos of them in action to get a better feel. Bear in mind, it's what works for me, but might not work for everyone. Next, I'm ironing out the positioning. As much as I liked the wing shape of the original sketch, I knew I'd have to scrap it eventually for a more anatomical one. That was a major topic and feedback zone during the class, putting heavy consideration onto how the muscles attach the wings to the torso. It's a tricky problem to solve and design around. In my case, I'm going to follow David's approach of designing the chest connection and thinking of it more from a human anatomy standpoint. Previously, I did play around with designing our dragon with more big cat-like anatomical structure, like in Week 2's homework. I just figured for this week's, I thought I'd at least give the other anatomical route a shot this time around. Moving further up his wings, I designed his hand structure to have more cat paw aspects. Maybe he wouldn't necessarily walk on those pads, but it helps bring back more tiger elements to the design. After which, I decided to call it here, and say the base sketch was finished. Line art. This is the make it or break it point for the design. I was really unsatisfied with how the structure was turning out, and I felt I had lost so much of what made him a big cat, rushing through the anatomical refining stage, and not quite capturing a head design that felt tiger-like and draconic. Bear in mind, once we're given our homework tasks from the class, we have 2.5 days, in my case, to complete it, in time for the critique session on Friday. This isn't a set deadline, just a personal goal of mine to have something presentable to show for the Friday class that we can discuss. So with 5 hours left before class starting, I decided to overhaul the whole design's look. Now, I know the base pose was good, it's just my placeholder elements needed to get overwritten. Now this is the fun part. First, starting with the head. It worked decently as a placeholder design, expressing the elements I wanted to use, but didn't express that that true tiger ferocity I wanted to capture here. Now, I'm still figuring out how to draw fur and defining the mane, in this case, so it's going to be a little rougher around the edges as I figure stuff out. Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of the direction the arms went in, so let's keep it more tiger-like, and consider the claws as retractable, and not just as simplified big triangles, spikes on the end of his fingers, and definitely removing the posable thumbs I had designed in earlier. A crucial aspect for me was to keep the fur to a minimal. That was one of the big critique areas I received from my previous designs. I get a little too carried away and create too much visual noise, trying to wrap my head around every fur strand or feather. Gotta remember to group them and imply rather than define individually. Finally here, I'm adding in the stripes. This is where the design really comes to life and gave me an exciting picture of what the end plutonium tiger design could look like. Now for the rendering. First with laying in our flat colors and planning out the color scheme. I'm going to be drawing a lot from snow leopard aspects with their blue-gray coats, as our creature will be inhabiting the tundra regions of the Alta Mountains in Japan. So I'm planning to play off of the simple orange shape of the background to help clash against our overall coat tones and scales. Next, I'm adding in interest to his head by using more color variants to the blues and playing with some subtle definition. I plan to add spots to his chest and try to imply the possibility of them being scales to help bring more dragon-like texturing to our mix. I like how it turned out and decided to throw in a few snow leopard spots here and there to transition the scales to fit with the rest of his stripes and patterning. Now to switch things up, as our rendering continues on in the background, I figured I'd talk a little more about the main point of the video topic. How did the one-on-one mentorship side of the class go? For context, the class is structured with the mentorship being an optional add-on on top of the class. So for me, it was around $140 in total, granting me 2 one-on-one sessions during the month. For the first session, I opted for a little portfolio review, as I had been practicing dragons to warm up for the class. Bear in mind, I had no idea what to expect. I've never done a mentorship before, so this is really new to me. Starting, the first session went pretty good actually. I got some great constructive feedback on my 3D form skills and was recommended to try thumbnailing more when it comes to iterating on an idea. A lot of the time, your first idea isn't always your best idea. He also answered a lot of my questions, and it was exciting just to talk to and relate to another artist, face to face. One of the big questions he did ask, to get a feel for the direction I wanted to take my art in, was, what was your inspirations growing up? And what kind of artist would I want to be like? And the work I wanted to produce. In the end, I struggled answering this question, for the most part, and decided to quest myself to figure it out before the next one-on-one session. Something I didn't expect was he asked me a lot about art style. I honestly didn't consider myself a good enough artist to even consider that notion. I just figured it was a random side effect of the art making process. But now, I'm realizing it's something that can actually direct your growth, and by defining your artistic tastes, can aid answering a lot of your art direction question marks. So before the final one-on-one session, I decided to go throw together an art inspiration board with all of the artworks I could find that inspired me, and the artists I wanted to follow, with some other things I generally liked. Beginning the last session, we talked a lot about the reference board and discussed some patterns visible in it. And he recommended I try getting back to some more traditional work, seeing some of the artists I have collected had a big focus on traditional sketching and medium. Afterwards, we talked about artistic growth and the homework tasks with some paintovers. In all, it was a really cool experience and a blast to partake in this class. Looking back to see my improvement from the first class was awesome. Like back in January, this is the first and final class project I did for it. And then here in June, this is my first one that you've seen before, and now the final one, being the week 4 final project, turn our design into a bestiary page, as if it was a part of a book. In all, our Shurkan Plutonium Tiger here is finished. So I wrote up a description and some lore for you guys. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and feel free to check out my last video, where I dive more into creating a bestiary page with this wisp elk design. Or if you're looking for some more dragon content, I'll be putting together a breakdown of the 3D Total Designing Dragons book very soon. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.